Heading up the talented cast, physical genius Mark Dacascos has been learning martial arts since the age of 4. Indoctrinated in the effective street art style Woon Hop Kyun Do by his father Al Dacascos, Mark is as effective off the screen as he is on. Producer Mike Leahy vividly remembers his first introduction to Hawaii's answer to Bruce Lee.
Specifically, I remember the first time meeting Mark Dacascos. We went to a restaurant in the Valley, and Steve was pretty adamant about us needing to hire this guy, Mark Dacascos. And I met Mark, and he was telling a story, and at one moment he moved his hands. I'm doing it about 1/100th of the speed that Mark moved his hands. And it was like I was sitting across from a puma that was just so delicate and so graceful and so methodic in his approach. While he's eating a hamburger, I just knew this was the guy that we needed to hire.
Mark was the guy I wanted from the beginning for this movie. Because the one thing that it's really hard is, a lot of people in Hollywood, the guys who make the big movies, they don't understand this. And that is, it's really hard to cast somebody who can do the acting, give you the performance, who can also do the action that is required in this kind of movie without looking like they've been doubled every 5 seconds.
I love to train in martial arts. I was a Hawaiian boy spending most of my teen years in Hamburg, Germany, and my sanctuary was in the Kung Fu school. I was a foreigner, and although I had a lot of good friends, Kung Fu and Jackie Chan was a huge influence in my life. Matter of fact, when I was 17, I moved to Taiwan for 6 months, and I studied martial arts there, and I actually got to meet Jackie Chan when I was 17 years old. He was a huge influence, and I think Jackie Chan was the one that inspired me to really get into gymnastics and do flips and all that. Matter of fact, I attribute myself almost breaking my back to a Jackie Chan film. In one of the movies I saw him do, he ran up something and did a backflip, and I thought, oh, that looks so cool, and he does it so well. I don't know if it doesn't, he made it look like it was not that hard. So I went back to our Kung Fu school, and the ceilings were only, I don't know, maybe 9.5 feet high, 10 feet high, and there was this beam in the middle of the gym, and I thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna run right up the beam and do a backflip, because I can do a backflip, so I'll just run up and do a backflip. It'll be even easier. And what happened was I ran all the way up to the top, that my head hit the ceiling. So before I even did the flip, I was falling backwards, and bam, hit my back on there, So I realized that it was not as easy as it looked. However, a couple months later, I tried it again and made it, and was aware of the ceiling. But Jackie Chan was just, he was huge for me. Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan.
Working with Mark Dacascos, that was a great experience, because Mark himself is a martial artist. He does Kung Fu, the kind of style that we like. And Mark can perform all his stunts himself. Physically, he's a very talented person, not just martial arts, but also gymnastics, acrobats, acting between the fight, everything. A lot of times, some actors, even though they do fight scenes, but their face totally dead when they do a fight scene. Like this, there's no expression on their face. But Mark got everything. And he's better than a lot of stunt guys out there. So we had great fun. I asked Mark, can you do this? He said, sure, no problem. He performed.
As an actor, Mark has got a real unique quality that a lot of the quote-unquote action stars don't have. It's a vulnerability, it's a likability, it's a charm that we really try to capture and drive. Instead of him giving you just a tough guy, Mark brings a whole different aspect to it, where he can have that, but he also can be really vulnerable and tender. And comedic, which I think worked really well in the movie.
As an actor, it was very challenging. As a martial artist, it was extremely challenging, because anything that I had learned in my life, Koichi and Steve were pretty much putting it to use. So I did a movie called Only the Strong, and some of the capoeira moves we used. I was a gymnast, and they used that, the things that I could do, they put that in there, and then all of the martial arts and Kung Fu fighting, of course. Matter of fact, I've never even trained as a singer, and Steve still put that to use. As a matter of fact, he got me to write my own lyrics, so I wrote the lyrics to that song. And originally, he was only going to have me do the first 2 or 3 lines. And then I recorded the song a couple nights prior to when we actually filmed it, and he liked it, so he ended up having me sing the whole song.
Matching Mark's physical prowess with charisma and comedic flair is co-star Kadeem Hardison. As one of America's best up-and-coming comic talents, Kadeem was the perfect choice for the pivotal role of Malik Brody in Drive.
We just arranged a meeting with Kadeem and met with him, and right away I thought, this is the guy. This guy's perfect. You know, Kadeem was such a talented actor, great at ad-libbing and improvisation.
We all going. This ain't the Batmobile, man. You made it throw a ride. It's an old car.
And so we got Mark and Kadeem together, and you know, to dinner to see the whole chemistry thing. And I was so happy that there was chemistry there. It was just amazing how these two guys could really kind of feel comfortable with each other.
I felt my job was to make Mark laugh and to make him feel at ease. So we were in the car one time, and he tells me this story about the bio engine that he has in his chest. And as an ad-lib, I said, really?
Wow, that's a pretty amazing coincidence, Toby, because I have one in my ass.
He wanted to really be serious in that moment. You know, that's one of those moments where, you know, he could come back at me with some fire. So when I say I have one in my ass, Mark goes, you can see him just smiling just a little bit, and he hates it. Every time he watches, every time he gets to that moment, he jumps up and he screams about he should have been serious in that moment. Well, he could have been, but it was funny.
One of the great things about working with Kadeem is that as an actor, as a real life person, you never know what he's going to do. He could be just one line or maybe not even a line, and somehow the bastard sneaks in lines that are so funny and pertinent to the script that you just got to keep him in there, and Steve did. Steve was, I mean, he was the first one to crack up. Well, I'm trying to keep a straight face, working with Kadeem the funny man.
In addition to his undeniable chemistry with Mark, Kadeem also sets the sparks flying with effervescent co-star Brittany Murphy, who played gun-toting wildflower Deliverance Bodine.
When Brittany came on the set, she set it on fire and just gave me so much more to play off. She came on the set. We didn't meet before. I know she's from New York, so there we're connected. I feel like all of us, all the actors, anybody who comes out of New York are related. We're all related in some way because we come from that place. She came on the set. She blew it up. You know, I had no idea what to expect. And I didn't meet her beforehand, so I didn't know, you know, I knew that there was a whole bunch of different directions you could go with this character. And I probably was thinking that she was going to be really sexy and really, you know, hot and really, you know, full of it. And Brittany was just the perfect balance of all of that. And then sweet and innocent and adorable. So it was simple. All I had to do was listen to her talk and then react. And that made for great chemistry.
I had to cast the role of Deliverance. And the way she was written in the script, she was written as a sort of a 16-year-old blonde, kind of wildflower, very sexy. I thought I should cast somebody who was young, but maybe not entirely sexy, you know, just somebody who's trying to be sexy. And saw over 100 different girls, very talented actresses. Some are just drop-dead gorgeous, you know. And, you know, none of them were really right. And then the name of Brittany Murphy came up. And I remember right away she played Ty in Clueless. And I had a very strong vision of her from the film, but I thought, oh, I don't know if she's right or not, you know. So she came by, we read her. The instant she walked in, I was like, wow, she looks totally different. She looked nothing like the way she looked in Clueless. And right away when she started speaking, she has just such an infectious attitude. And she's always giggly, always laughing. She could just like turn a gray day into a bright sunny day just by being in the room. She read once, literally just once, and I thought, boy, this is it.
As well as its talented cast, the factor which most sets Drive apart from the rest of its competitors is the electric hyperkinetic fight action which permeates the drama. With the notable exception of The Matrix, no other Western production has even come close to recreating the intricate high-energy fight action indigenous to many of the Hong Kong projects, championed by directors like Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Yuen Woo-ping. Steve and Koichi now reveal the secrets to their groundbreaking approach to cinema fight choreography.
The big difference about shooting a fight scene like this in Drive versus a regular American film, like for instance, in a regular American action film, when they do a fight, they treat it like traditional barroom brawl. And what they do is they get two guys in there, and like they'll do a pretty simple choreography or whatever, and the guys will go in there and they'll do a master shot. And they'll come in, they'll punch in for this guy's reaction and his punches. And they'll come back and they'll cover this guy's thing, and they'll cut it together. Well, if I may be so bold as to say, I think people who do that really don't know what the hell they're doing. They just don't know. Because if you look at the way Hong Kong films are shot, the way the fight is choreographed, the way it's shot, it's all montage cutting. One shot, you see this amount of choreography, the camera moves with it, everything's there. The next shot, it's a continuation of the shot previously. The next shot, there's no master shots, there's no coverage, everything flows. It flows like water, as Bruce Lee would say.
Usually, when we choreograph the fight sequence, I come up with the basic idea of the fight sequence. And as we walk through, I have a senior guy, Tatsuro, he's the leader of the alpha stunts. He watch over from behind, and he see my choreography. And he comes in and adjusts my choreography because he can see it as an audience point of view. Because when you choreograph by yourself, you go into it, so you don't know sometimes exactly what's good for the camera. So I have my senior guy watch me when I choreograph, and he can suggest me, oh, maybe Koichi, you should do this, better for camera this way. Maybe rhythm-wise, you're doing too much pam, 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 you should get kick here. You don't have a reaction for a while, maybe you should pam, hit the guy reaction here. If you have too much reactions or too much reaction back to back, you have to break down the rhythm. So we all discuss together. And now after I choreograph, I'm going to have my junior guy, which is Yuji, perform for me. So now me and Tatsuo can stay back and watch the whole sequence so that we all have our own opinions. And Yuji is a great acrobat. He has a lot of great ideas, so he can also put ideas. So most of the time on the fight choreography,